You're listening to Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information, check out chrisblair.com. In this episode, I sit down with the amazing JT Harding. Guys, JT is from Detroit, and he's written hits for Keith Urban, Kenny Chesney, Uncle Kracker, Jake Owen, Darius Rucker, the Jonas Brothers, Blake Shelton, and many more. Man, I've known this guy for years and years and years. He is always full of energy, puts on an incredible show, and guaranteed this is the funniest episode I've put out to date. JT grew up like me, loving the 90s rock bands like Van Halen, Prince, bands like that. He moved to LA to be a rock star himself, but eventually started coming to Nashville to write songs, and it just stuck. In this episode, he's going to talk about how Linkin Park helped him get a songwriting deal. He's going to talk about the stories behind songs like Somewhere With You for Kenny Chesney, Smile for Uncle Kracker, Alone With You for Jake Owen. He's going to talk about meeting Keith Urban in a bathroom at an award show, which led to them writing Somewhere in My Car. Stories behind Sangria for Blake Shelton, Bar at the End of the World for Kenny Chesney. It's just awesome. He's also going to talk about what his favorite song is that he wrote. Great advice throughout the entire episode for aspiring songwriters, and his brand new book, Party Like a Rock Star, that we did the book release party for at the Listening Room with Dana Perino, and it is now a #1 book on Amazon. It's an awesome episode. Let's get to it. JT Harding, here we go. Hey guys, this is another episode of Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair, and I am here with JT Harding.
Hello out there, people.
JT.
If you're at work, drum on your desk. If you're in your car, honk your horn. And if you're still in bed, dance on your back. Hit songwriter JT Harding live on air with Behind the Song with Chris Blair. Woo!
I love it, man.
I have not been up this early since the 90s, so congratulations for getting me out of bed.
You know, I sat in traffic today too for you. I did it for you. I love it. Man,
I sit in traffic actually on purpose, hoping one of my songs comes on.
That's probably not hard. What do you got to go like every 3 or 4 songs? Yeah, exactly.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, man. We go way back. You've been playing Listening Room for, when was your first show? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but I do remember the very first time I ever went to the Listening Room. The pre-famous Casey Musgraves was playing, but it was at Union Station. And I'd never been there before, and it was so crowded. I didn't know you yet. I called it the You Can't Hear Anything room because it was so crowded. Everyone was talking. So that was your place, right?
The talking room. Yeah. It was in Cummins Station.
Yes, but now, the first time I put the old Listening Room, I don't remember, but I do remember. It's always packed. It's always a great crowd, and it's I love playing. Favorite place to play. It's like I can be my superhero self when I play here. I'm like a rock star. Yeah,
you are a rock star. You party like a rock star. Yes. We'll get to that later. Well, man, let's. Okay, so for everybody listening out there, it's basically like we're going to talk about stories behind the songs. So obviously the legit songs. But also, it's just anything we want to talk about. Let's talk about you. How you got from Detroit.
My relationship problems? No kidding.
Well, you're on a couch. We can get there. You want to lay down for a minute? Yeah. Let's pretend you don't know. Like, we've never talked, so I don't know anything about you, so that we can share everything with. Because I know all these stories, but they're so good, and I don't want to leave anything out. So let's just go back to the Detroit days.
Let's turn back the clock. Yes.
So take me back to JT as a kid, jamming out to cassette tapes, and
my mom just screamed, "No, I don't want him back." Well, so I was born, and the universe did a mic drop. I was raised in the home of country music, Detroit, Michigan. So I grew up in Detroit. I was adopted. I feel like I won the lottery of life. I was adopted. I grew up in Detroit, and I just loved watching MTV. And my parents were huge sports fans. My dad caught a touchdown in the Rose Bowl. He worked at ESPN. I would always say I was an MTV junkie trapped in an episode of Sports Center. I loved listening to the radio. I wanted to crawl inside the TV, so I started putting bands together, crawl inside the TV to be in these videos. And I started putting bands together, and I don't really know where the instinct came from, but I knew that to make it, to really get on the radio, to be quote unquote a rock star, you had to write your own songs. And the songs were pretty awful when I started, but I was, always just trying to write songs. I don't know the chords, I don't know the notes of what I play, but I was always just trying to bang out notes on the piano and guitar. And it's just something I always knew that I wanted to do. And thankfully, my parents were very supportive.
Yeah. So you, early on, you knew this is what you wanted to do. When did you decide to make that move and say, okay, I've got to be in Nashville?
Well, great story. Well, first, I looked on the back of all my CDs, and they all said Sunset Boulevard, California. My Van Halen, my Prince, every CD I had. My Duran Duran CDs, Capitol Records, Hollywood, California. Yes. So at 17 years old, hang on to your hearts, I moved out to California, and I was living on the most unglamorous corner of Hollywood, and I just went for it. Started looking in the paper, we didn't have the internet then. This was in the 90s, so for you youngsters out there, to show off my outfits at school, I had to walk to the pencil sharpener twice a class. And when I got to Hollywood, I had to look in the newspaper and try to put bands together. And I got a job at a record store called Tower Records. It was big as a Home Depot. Tower Records was gigantic. I didn't know anyone in the music business, but I was so naive. I thought, well, if I work at this record store in Hollywood, certainly someone that knows someone at the local record companies would come in there. And man, every word of this is true. Every celebrity came in. Michael Jackson, Kurt Cobain, Prince, Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Springsteen, George Michael. It was literally like everyone I'd ever seen on TV or in the movies was coming in. And I gave every single one of them my demo. And I gave a demo to a guy that worked at a record company. And I actually got a record deal doing that. And he said, I recognized him because his name was on all the records. His name was on the CDs, Brian Koppelman. He had signed Tracy Chapman. And I said, are you Brian Koppelman? Because he brought his credit card out. You signed Tracy Chapman? And he said, man, yeah, no one really knows me. You must love your job. And I said, oh, yeah, this is part of my get rich slow scheme, working here. And it was, like I said, I was so naive that this could happen. And he ended up giving me a record deal. I made a record deal with John Mellencamp's band in New York, limousines, money and everything. The deal fell through. But I kept writing and people started calling me for songs. And in a long, twisted story, I eventually started coming to Nashville. And once I got to Nashville, I just said, I want to stay here. It's a great city. I'd been in Los Angeles for 5 years. My heart had been broken by the music business more than the ice cream machine at McDonald's over there on Nolensville. And once I got to Nashville, everyone was just so nice. And there were so many inspiring songwriters. So that's what got me here.
Yeah, man. And it's been an awesome road since that happened. It doesn't happen overnight, so I want to talk about that. But you've just had hit after hit after hit, and you've graced us by playing here so much, just over the years. But once you got here and you were like, okay, I'm gonna go down that path of songwriting. What was that to lead up to a publishing deal, the first time that you co-wrote with somebody, and trying to figure that out from okay, I'm going from rock star, I'm going to do this to songwriter. Walk me through that.
Exactly. So what a great question. I've always read, I knew that Elton John wrote his songs with Bernie Taupin. I knew that the Beatles wrote together. I knew that Kiss wrote together, but I'd never really written songs with anybody. So when I got to Nashville, after my record deal fell through, I was working for the superstar band Linkin Park, and I was their assistant. They were very low maintenance, and they would let me open up for them. And some nights I would get brutally booed off stage, but it was because of opening up for them, just 2 or 3 songs on an acoustic guitar, that I got my writing deal in Nashville. So I came here, and it was like you're in rooms with people. It's like speed dating almost. You're in a room with someone every day that you've never met. You're both throwing out ideas, and it was odd for me at first. It was a little uncomfortable. I was just like, oh, how does this work? But eventually, I met people that I was really inspired by. We really got each other. I say it all the time. There's a great music publisher named Jeff Carlton. Okay, I know I'm jumping around a bit. When I first came to town, and everyone does this, and I did it too, I thought, if I can just write a song with the big hit songwriters, I'll have a hit too. If I could just write with Craig Wiseman, if I could just write with Hillary Lindsey, then I'll have a hit too. It'll just be magic. But I've never seen that happen for anyone. It's not how it happens. You have to find your own tribe, and you have to rise up together. And people, I play here, and as soon as I come off stage, people are like, I just moved to town. You want to write? And I try to politely tell them, man, you've got to find your own tribe. And so after I was here I had a publishing deal. I lost that deal after a few years. And then I met a young man named Shane McAnally. Now, it's very easy to throw his name around now because he's had so many hits. But at the time, Shane had been in Nashville off and on for 14 years. He'd never had a hit.
Yeah.
He was sleeping on his sister's couch. It's funny to think about. It was so many spray tans ago for him, And my apartment had just been condemned. I didn't know where I was going to live. And then we both met up. We had both been through brutal breakups the first day we met. But on that day, we both showed up. Neither of us wanted to be there. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. But that day we wrote Somewhere With You that Kenny Chesney put out. So you just really never know what's going to happen. But, Shane and I met. We had that first hit together. We became great friends, and we've had many hits since. And he introduced me to Josh Osborne and Trevor Rosen and the guys that put together Old Dominion and Brandy Clark. They had like a serious tribe, and I would kind of pop in and out of that tribe.
Yeah, man.
I hope this is making sense.
No, it's great. Yeah, and I think that's a great point because, I've gotten that too, and it's like people, they expect to come here, and either as an artist, they were huge in their town.
Yes.
I'm talking about myself at this point. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I literally was opening up for every.
He was
major...
the most popular singer in his town, and there were 3 singers in that town.
There was
quite
an
an
people
achievement
when everybody was home. But it was awesome. It was and I literally thought that. I was like, okay, I've got a label interested in me. I'm gonna come. I'm gonna do a couple weeks on Broadway at Tootsie's, and then I'm gonna be on a bus.
Yes.
Right. And obviously that didn't happen, and I'm grateful for it. But in the songwriting, it's the same thing. Yeah, they it's like, you're looking at all the stuff on from our day, the back of a cassette tape or CD,
yes.
And then now Spotify. But it's like everybody's like, okay, well, how can I get in that camp and write with these guys? And it's like
form your own camp.
You can't. You got to write, and it's about. I was just a couple weeks ago talking about this with somebody, but it seems like it's about every 5 to 7 years that you'll see this flip, right?
Yes.
Like if I go back to like when I first moved to town, it was like the Craig Wiseman, Jeffrey Steele, Bob DiPiero, that whole camp,
Yes.
Tony Mullins, and then a little bit later, it's the Shane McAnally, Josh Osborne, JT Harding. That kind of thing, and now it's there's a lot of newer writers that have
now there's
been
17
Hardy
guys
and,
named Adam.
yeah. But yeah, it's like that's the thing. It's like they find these writers that they work well together, and each one of them has their unique abilities that they bring to that room, and then the next thing it's like that's the camp that's rising up. So
yes, and to inspire any aspiring songwriters, any aspiring songwriters, I also say, and I mean this, make a noise so loud that I have to write with you. Instead of just saying, I just got to town, let's write. Like, there's so many new people coming up, and I'm like, wow, listen to this song. Who wrote that? And going right back to the listening room, and correct me if this is wrong, but I think it's true. Priscilla Block worked here. She got a record deal. And one day I was looking at a record. I said, who are all these writers? And they said, oh, these are all girls she worked with at the listening room or girls that she knew. So that's a great example of someone kind of forming their own tribe
100%.
And coming up together. Yeah.
Yep. I love it. Okay. So you and Shane are in a room.
Yes.
You meet, just had terrible breakups, and you write this song. How does it get to Kenny?
This episode is brought to you by Brit Skin Beauty. Located in the beautiful Indulgence Medi Spa in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, Brittany is the go-to esthetician for facials, dermaplaning, microdermabrasion, waxing, lashes, and any skincare products and consultations. So many people in the music industry use her frequently, and her work speaks for itself. To schedule your next consultation or make an appointment, visit britskinbeauty.com or send an email to britskinbeauty@gmail.com.
Oh, that's a great question. So this is the thing I love to stress about the song Somewhere With You. I'm very flattered. People say, it's my favorite Kenny Chesney song. What a great song for him. What a great country song. Everybody in town, every manager, artist, record company, everybody passed on Somewhere With You. That thing went through more hands than a vape pen at a Morgan Wallen after show. Everyone said this is not a country song. Country songs, they would say to me, long notes. I hope you dance or just breathe. Those are great songs. But they said, you're doing this fast singing thing, laughing aloud on a carnival ride. Like, no one's going to do that. So an incredible publisher in town who I believe at the time did not have a job, named Robin Palmer. She works at Smack Publishing now, a great woman. Kenny Chesney, from what I heard, had a record done. He went to his manager. He said, I feel like this record is not right. He's obviously a very smart person, Kenny Chesney. I need some new songs. This record feels a little incomplete. So Kenny Chesney had a lunch with all the publishers, and Robin Palmer somehow got an invite to this. And Kenny said, everyone give me one song. I promise you I'll listen to it. And he had a basket or a trash bag or something. And Robin Palmer burned Somewhere With You on a CD, put it in that basket, and he heard it. And when Kenny said, I'm going to do this song, everyone just got out of his way. Radio stations played it. You know, Kenny was already a superstar, but it was his first song to ever sell 1 million copies. And we were just like on cloud nine. So once again, the point is, Shane and I weren't trying to follow any trends. We were just writing from the bottom of our broken hearts. We weren't trying to be different. We weren't thinking, hey, this is like a cool new thing, or what trends should we follow? We just wrote something that meant something to us, and it made all the difference in the world. If we'd written a song about a beach, or a song about a tractor, or a song about a cowboy hat, Kenny Chesney would never have heard it. He was already past all that kind of stuff. So if you're listening, if you just write something from your heart that means something to you, it can make all the difference in the world. You know, I think country fans are very smart, so you have to be authentic. I don't write songs about red dirt roads and crickets and frogs. I'm from Detroit. Camping to me is room service ends at midnight. And I love those kind of songs, but you're not going to out Georgia someone from Georgia. So wherever you're from, whatever your story is, write that story, and man, people will go for it. I mean, it's happened for me. You know?
Don't follow the trend, start the trend.
Yeah, because by the time the trend comes, by the time you write a song that might sound like something on the radio, that trend is already gone.
Yeah,
you know, like a DoorDash guy, zing. You know.
Yeah. So then after that, was your catalog just opened up and things started to just, okay, well, what other songs do you have that we can listen to and pitch? Or was it kind of a slow stepping stone after that?
Well, it never gets any, that's a great question. It never gets any easier. I've never been in the position where people do call and say, hey, do you have any songs? But they don't just say, I have 3 JT Harding songs, let's put them out. So something after years and years and years of trying, before Somewhere With You came out, or around the same time, I wrote a song called Smile with Uncle Kracker, another song that sat on the shelf forever. And Smile came out, then Somewhere With You. So doors were opening to me for people that wanted to write with me, but it never necessarily got easier. I still had to wake up every day and try to write the best song in town. After that, it was another couple of years, and Shane and I wrote Alone With You for Jake Owen. So those were the first 2 hits, and I had Smile, and I just always kept writing. I mean, when you asked me when I first came to Nashville, I noticed that the people that were having success were writing every single day. I was kind of going back and forth to LA, then I would go back to Michigan for a week to visit my parents or whatever, kind of taking little breaks. But in Nashville, it's a full contact sport. People are writing every day. So I said, man, I've got to be here writing every single day. And that's what I was doing. So imagine writing 4 days a week, year after year, and I've had 9 hits, but I mean, think of it, it's hundreds and hundreds of songs.
Yeah.
But luckily, I've had some that have popped up.
Yeah. So
I don't know why it takes so many songs, but it just does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, 100 songs to find that good one, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, and certainly I have other songs that are like, this is better than this. This is better. They're going to go crazy when they hear this one, and then no one even responds.
Yeah.
But you do get lucky, and people say, hey, this is a good song. I thought Alone With You, you know, with the line, you know, don't put your hand up my shirt and tell me it's okay. We always thought that would be a song probably for a girl. So then, once again, the magic, mysterious world of music in Nashville, Jake Owen decided to record it, and which I thought was a genius, you know, move, because he's a great looking guy, but it was like this, you know, he was kind of vulnerable when he sang it. It really worked out.
Yeah, it was, yeah, he did a great job with that. Let's go back to Uncle Kracker.
Ah, yes.
Because I love this story, and you know, there's a couple incredible lines in that song.
They were probably his.
It's well, I mean, I know one of them was, because you've talked about it, but flipping the pillow to the cold side.
Yeah.
You know, just like let's walk through that write together and just how that was to be in a room with Uncle Kracker.
I hope you can hear me smiling. It sounds like an Uncle Kracker
Yes.
song. So I had opened for Linkin Park, lost a few record deals. I was putting up songs on MySpace. I'd never really had a hit, but I did have a rock song called Party Like a Rock Star. I'm going to party like a rock star. And it was on the radio in some cities and a little bit in Detroit. And Kracker had heard that, and a buddy of mine had given him a CD. Uncle Kracker did not know I was from Detroit. And he called me, and I was just, floored because I'd met every rock star, but no one had ever called me and said, let's write. And for those of you that might not know too much about Uncle Kracker, his song Follow Me was gigantic. Then he put out Gimme the Beat Boys, which sold like 10 million copies. He was in Kid Rock's band. So he said, hey, we should write. So I flew up to Detroit. He picked me up at the airport, and we drove up to his cottage. And when I say it was snowing, I mean, it was a full-on blizzard. It was like we were in a snow globe that a kid couldn't stop shaking. I mean, snowflakes the size of, silver dollars. It was crazy. His car got stuck in the driveway. We go in the house, and we spent the whole weekend writing. And he was like chain smoking and drinking Faygo soda. My eyes were as red as the Netflix logo. And all weekend in the blizzard, we're writing songs. We probably wrote 5 or 6 songs. And I remember saying to myself, well, these are good, right? These are pretty good. Yeah, of course they're good. I'm writing with Uncle Kracker. These songs are good. Yeah, man, these songs are good. These songs are good. I can kind of remember pumping myself up. On the last day, there was another writer there as well. We just had a laptop, a couple lyric books, maybe recording in our phones for the first time ever. We were packing all our stuff up. There's people skating out on the lake. I'll never forget it. Uncle Kracker, just out of the blue, said, what about a song called Smile? And I was like, what? We were like getting ready to leave. And he said, yeah, I saw the Chipmunks movie with my daughters, and like the Chipmunks could sing every song in the movie. I need a song that my daughters can sing. And he said that my mom likes and that my wife can dance to as well. And I thought, okay, 3 generations of women liking the same song. Why don't we just put on blindfolds and do a Rubik's Cube? Let's see what happens quicker, And the other writer there, Blair Daly, in his computer, he had this little piano loop just going, dun dun dun, and I literally just said, you're better than the best. And Blair said, I'm lucky just to linger in your light. And then here comes Kracker with the home run line. He just said, cooler than the flip side of my pillow. I'd never heard that before. A little side note for songwriters out there. If you can think of a lyric that's not been said before, really, a lot, but everyone knows what you mean, it's just the best thing in the world. It's hard to do, but those simple lines make all the difference. And then we wrote the chorus, You Make Me Smile. It just kind of fell out. And Chris, every snowflake was suspended in midair. I don't know why Uncle Kracker's record label were dragging their feet. But Uncle Kracker wrote all summer long with Kid Rock. There's a huge producer named Rob Cavallo who produced the Goo Goo Dolls, Alanis Morissette, all the Green Day records, My Chemical Romance. He produced Kid Rock. He heard Smile, and he was kind of like Quentin Tarantino. He was like, well, come on, man, let's record Smile, man. Yeah, I work at Warner Brothers, man. We'll get it put out. We'll put it out. So then he recorded Smile. And when it came out, it was just a huge pop hit. It was a country hit. It's been used in ice cream commercials, movies. The Olympics used it. When Regis retired, they played the whole song, and all his fans were holding up You Make Me Smile. So that's pretty much the origin of that song. The title was Uncle Kracker's. The best line in the song was Uncle Kracker's. And it was just a really great, song to come out.
Man, what a story! I've heard you tell that before. It's just and I had to bring that one up because I wanted to share with everybody listening. It's like, man,
totally.
I mean,
and they played a lot at CVS and Walgreens, and I was gonna, if I ever get a Match profile, I'm gonna say I'm hot in the pharmacies. I'm hot in the pharmacies.
You have to do that at this point.
Have you seen my outfit? I don't need a Match profile.
We'll put it on the liners of this podcast. The link to JT's Match profile. Yeah. Okay, so let's shift gears to walk me through being at an awards show.
Oh, yes.
And going to the bathroom.
Yes. Is this on video? I had heard, when Somewhere With You was climbing the chart, I had heard that Kenny Chesney,
Yes.
Edit. When Somewhere With You by Kenny Chesney was climbing the chart, getting played more and more on the radio, I started hearing from friends that Keith Urban was talking about Somewhere With You. He talked about it on the radio. He started telling his fans to buy it. I'd never met Keith Urban. He didn't know who I was. He had no idea who wrote the song. But this was, a really great feeling. I was like, I can't believe Keith Urban likes this song. And a few months later, I was at an award show here, not too far from here, downtown. I was in the men's room washing my hands, and I looked back, and there at the wall stall was Keith Urban taking a leak. So I waited for him. I always say I invented the long hand wash. I just stayed there. And he came up to the sink, and every word of this is true. I said, Mr. Urban, my name's JT. I wrote Somewhere with You. Your fans embraced it. It was a 3-week #1 song, and he just said, mate, what a song. If I'd have heard that before Kenny, and if I'd have heard that before everyone in town, I would have put it on my last album. And I just said, dude, that is so crazy. Because I sent that song to your record company and your manager, and probably to someone at the Bluebird that knew you in the listening room. And he said, and my wife's crazy about that song. Do you have your phone on you? I think I'm about to meet Nicole Kidman right there. So I get my phone out, and Keith put his phone number in the phone I have right here in my pocket. And he said, the next time you have a song, he said, if you believe in it, you think it's good for me, let me know right away. And we bro hugged, and we went back to our candlelit tables. And, that only happens in Nashville. And as you know, I texted him at 7 a.m. the next morning. And he never answered back. Months and months went by. But he finally did. And we got together, and we wrote Somewhere in My Car. And it was a #1 song. And Keith, I got to tell you, writing with him, he had the whole song like a blueprint, like an architect. He said, this is the drum beat. He played me the drum beat. He said, this is the guitar I want. Dung, 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 dung. And he said, let's make it about a past relationship. I haven't had a song like that in a while. He said, so he knew exactly what he wanted. And then we just, wrote the lyrics and the melody together to Somewhere in My Car. And it was just fantastic. And now I'm not allowed to hang out in bathrooms at any award show. So that's the downside of that. But yeah, it's a good place to meet people.
Yeah. So, man, it's what is it?
Keith actually showed up here unannounced.
Yeah,
one
he
night,
did.
Didn't he?
Ross Copperman was playing.
Oh, wow.
And with the song
Keith saw him and left. No.
What was the song? Ross wrote it with Josh
John
Osborne
Cougar,
and
John Deere,
John
316, yeah.
Yeah, that Ross was...
it's about 3 outhouses.
Yeah, exactly. Ross was playing, and Keith wanted to come, and we snuck him in, and he was up in the balcony, and nobody knew. And I think I don't know for sure, but I think Keith was like, "Hey, dude, I just want to come listen. I'm just coming to support you." To Ross, and he was like, "I'm just coming to listen," and you're sitting here you can't see who's in the balcony, right?
You can't see those blue eyes that look like ice on fire in the balcony.
Exactly. But
he's here. You got to call him up.
Yeah,
Come
Ross was like, "Hey, I've got a buddy in the crowd, and we're gonna bring him up." And brought
so great.
Brought Keith up, and he played 2 or 3 songs, and it was awesome.
I've got to add that to my show, ladies and gentlemen. I wrote this with Keith Urban, and I just want to tell you something. It's a surprise. He's not here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. The listening room, man. Wow. And I played here one night and completely unannounced. Sam Hunt came strutting on stage to play with Emily Wise Band. Wow.
It really has been it's been awesome seeing. I mean, Keith played at the Cummins Station location as well.
Wow.
And I did meet Nicole Kidman that night. Actually, I changed the direction of where I was walking.
She thought he was the valet guy.
Yeah, I was going one way, and I saw her coming, and I literally switched and went around the other side of the sound booth so that I could just bump into her.
That's
and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, excuse me." But yeah, it's been awesome.
It's great that they live here.
Yeah, the people that will just show up, and people that got their start playing here and have gone on to be big time, and they still, when they come back, they'll shoot me a text and say, "Hey, I'm in town. I'm off the road for a month. Can we come play?" I mean, it's just it's such an honor. And then people like Keith and big guys like that didn't get their start here, but still just love it so much that they'll just pop up on stage unannounced. And
exactly. Hey, can I throw another little fun little curveball? If you're an aspiring songwriter out there, you have no control over what these songs do. At least I found.
Yeah.
And the reason you just reminded me, I was watching American Idol, and Keith Urban. So the album Fuse came out that had Cop Car, Somewhere in My Car, and a bunch of great songs. The album Fuse was out. Keith was on American Idol, and he said, "Hey everybody, this is my new single. I forget the name of the song. It might be called Her Boots or something." And he played it on American Idol. I had my song on the same record. I texted the songwriter of that, and I said, man, Keith just played your song on American Idol. It's the next single. Congrats. He wrote me back, and he said, yeah, my kids are all jumping around. We're so excited. We had no idea. And I was generally happy for him. 2 days later, or 3 days, I get a call from someone and say, hey, man, I just wanted you to know Somewhere in My Car is the next Keith single. And I said, wait, I just saw him on American Idol. He said it was going to be another song. And he said, well, there was a dinner with all these radio people, and the radio people started saying, hey, we want to play Somewhere in My Car. So they switched it, and my song became the single, and I'm very grateful for. But it's just an interesting lesson that you have no control over this stuff. And so you can't stomp around the house thinking, why didn't I get the single? Because you never know, what decisions are being made. I mean, the stars literally have to align. You have to write a song that someone likes, that they put it on a record, that a radio guy likes, then the audience has to like it. So I try to remind people, don't, let the town drive you, but don't let it drive you crazy, because all of this stuff is really out of your control.
That's such good advice, man. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know
If you had the CD in front of me, I would know the song. But I got really lucky. Yeah.
Wow. So what's it been, just since then, and like, is it still like you go to the office every day and you write songs and,
Absolutely. I'm signed to Sony Publishing, and I was signed to a small place called This Music. It was like a little kind of like you would say a mom and pop shop, but a small publishing company. And it became so successful with our writers like Jesse Alexander, Ben Hayslip, Derek Rattan, and the guy that runs it, Rusty. They hired him to be the head of Sony. So I said, man, I'll follow you. I mean, I really love dude. Rusty.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So listen, man, we're in there 4 and 5 days a week, and I am very lucky. I get to, I'm sent everywhere to do songwriter shows. I've been to, Sundance twice last year, did the listening room in Pigeon Forge. If you're wondering about my incredible outfit, I just played the Maui Songwriter Festival in Hawaii. I just got back. So I do love to travel. We take writing trips a lot, but once again, in Nashville, if you want to stay competitive, if you want to, there's a 100% chance you're not going to have a song on the radio if you don't show up to write. So I try to show up, most days and write. And I love it. The other, some of my best friends in town are people that I've met writing. So it's great. We laugh, we get together, and some days we write a great song, some days we don't, but then you just go back the next day. You
guys heard it right here. I mean, that's the key. So, I mean, you got a guy like JT Harding that has hit after hit after hit, and, he's still showing up every day to write songs.
You have to. Keep it going. And listen, I don't like to admit this, but I heard another songwriter say it, and I was so shocked that he was so open and honest. Some days, the last thing in the world I want to do is write a song. And I'm like, oh gosh, and I get my coffee and I go down to Music Row, and then you walk in and I'm with Josh Osborne and Trevor Rosen, and Josh says, man, I have this title. I don't know what to do with it, but it's called Sangria. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I didn't show up today? And then we write Sangria, and Blake Shelton puts it out. So you just, it sounds cliche, but it's true. Showing up is 90% of it, because you literally can show up and 2 hours later or 4 hours or 5 hours, write Song of the Year. And I've also learned something. It only feels like work the 10 or 20 minutes before you start. Once you're in writing the song, it doesn't really feel like work. You're laughing, you're rhyming songs, you're trying to make it better. You're, ordering food, you're stepping out to check your Instagram. So
yeah,
don't psych yourself out and think that it's too hard. Once you're in there, it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be hard. That's what makes it great.
Yeah.
If it was easy, everyone in my high school reunion would have hit songs. I don't want that.
Exactly.
I want to slide in and say, the King's back, baby. The
It's
Water
so
Boy
true.
actually made it.
This episode is brought to you by Sennheiser microphones. When we first started this podcast, we were using some older microphones, and Sennheiser came in and sponsored us and gave us some MK4s and 914s. And I mean, I'm telling you, it's made all of the difference in the world. We love these microphones. We use them at the listening room as well. And I just can't say enough great things about them. Go check out Sennheiser.com. If you are into music in any way, their microphones are hands down the best on the planet. Go check them out, Sennheiser.com. And thank you, Sennheiser, for the support and the sponsorship. We love y'all. I was in a write, this is about a year and a half ago or so, but I had a slam day, and I was writing with Jason Duke and AJ Cross.
Oh, nice.
And we were writing for AJ's project, and we, you know, it was a great write. We wrote a great song. We were all happy with it, and I'm leaving Sony I'm going on to the rest of the day, and I had a little bit of a break. I had about 2 hours before the next thing, and I was just like, man, I'm so like, I was hungry. I was like, I'm gonna go like grab something to eat, and I just want to chill and like just and Jason and AJ had another write with a couple guys, and they were like, hey man, that went so well. Like, do you want to jump in on this too? And in my head, I was like, no,
yeah,
you know, like I just did not want to do it. And I was like, it's the same kind of thing. I was like, yeah, okay. So, you know, I go to the lounge at Sony. I grab like a, you know, another cup of coffee and some granola bars or
all
something.
Those Rice Krispie treats,
exactly.
that they spend on us.
And we you know, we go in the room and we wrote Without a Girl that AJ ended up putting out.
Wow.
And you know,
yeah,
and if it was like it was such a fun write.
The story of your life, Without a Girl.
Yeah.
No, you're happy.
I've got a great one.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
But yeah, it's those moments that like I think that you can take this on outside, get away from songwriting in the music industry as a whole.
Absolutely.
Anything you do, like, you know, whether it's just, you know, getting that paycheck every day, like whatever you do as a job, there's always going to be times where you don't want to do it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And you've got to have that mental capacity to like just push through and get it done.
Totally. And then the flip side to that coin is one of my new favorite quotes. Resting is productive, because I can kind of be like, oh man, what's going on? Am I not doing enough? Nashville has a funny way of making even the biggest hit songwriters I've talked to, like you always kind of feel like you just really haven't made it yet. You're like, oh, I need another hit. But taking breaks is really important, because you can't be on output all the time. So you have to see movies and read books and go on vacation and recharge and, you know, fall in love, get your heart broken, to have adventures. So you have things to write about. I mean,
Sure.
You can't just, you know, sit in a cubicle or an office all day and think you're going to be super creative. I wrote another song called Bar at the End of the World for Kenny Chesney. Last thing in my mind was writing a song. I went down to visit my best buddy who lives in the Virgin Islands. Like we would go bar hopping on a boat over that robin egg blue water. Last thing on my mind, I said was thinking about writing a song. When I was down there, I was like, look at all these images, you know, palm trees with crackly speakers, bartenders with braids wearing pirate shirts. And I was like, wow, you know, because I took that break and I was not even thinking about it, it recharged me and new ideas started coming. So definitely don't work yourself ragged. Take some breaks.
Yeah. So let's talk about the outfits.
Oh, yes. I like my money where I can see it, hanging in my closet.
Yeah, you didn't always do this, but I remember, I mean, maybe about 5-6 years ago, is that when this started? Like you showed up, I remember the first time you showed up in your Star Wars suit.
Yes,
and
which is on the intro. People, by the way, all the time say, "Are you the guy from the listening room?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Do you see me play there? And they said, "No, you're on like the video that they show."
Yeah.
So it's a great question. I come from my favorite babysitter was MTV. So I love Prince, David Lee Roth. I love putting on a show. I want to give people something they can't possibly pay for. Great songs and also great outfits. And it all started. Before everyone in the world had those Christmas suits, I found one of those Christmas suits. So I was wearing it November through December. And I would always, I've always had leopard pants or wild shoes or whatever. And then when Christmas was over, I was thinking, well, I can't wear the Christmas suit. And I found I missed it. It was almost like I was, like I said, I can be the superhero version of myself on stage. And then I was like, wow, I'm going to have to wait a whole year to wear that Christmas suit again. And I was traveling and I found the Star Wars suit. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then I found a leopard print suit. And I was just in Hawaii and I found this incredible pineapple suit. I love it. And it just feels good,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell. I hate attention. Yeah.
It's become your thing. And it's like, we always love having you here. And it's like, love having everybody here. But there's something about JT that when you play a show here, it's like you're not going to sit on a stool and just sing your songs. You're going to get up. You're going to start just screaming a cappella. You're going to get the crowd. It becomes like the party room. I mean,
exactly.
It's just,
I love it. Yeah. You do that. Yeah. Get them all yelling sangria. And then you just, when they, I tell a really funny story. Then when they least expect it, boom, you hit them with somewhere with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love playing here. I said it before. Nashville is becoming the Disneyland for adults and party people, and the listening room is like the Magic Castle. You know, on your way to the Magic Castle, you're going to go to Pirates of the Caribbean, and you're going to go to It's a Small World. To me, that's like they're going to hit the hot chicken, they're going to hit the Tootsies, but they're all coming to the Magic Castle. I mean, where else in the world you can't see people singing songs that they've written on a stage? There's no Brown Eyed Girl, there's no Cheeseburger in Paradise. Those are great songs, but you can do that anywhere. But at the listening room, just in case anyone listening doesn't know, you can come here and play songs you've actually written. And some of the best songs I've ever heard here are songs that are not even hits.
Yeah.
Songs that have just floored me that I've never even heard before.
Yeah. It's, we get to do this every day.
Yeah, every day.
You go in a room and write every day, and that turns around and you put a demo together and you come up here and you sit on a stool and you play, and I mean, even those songs that become hits, like, there's so many of them. I could list tons of them that I've heard, like,
I played Beers and Sunshine here before it was a hit.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. No, people were looking at their watches and looking at the menu and not singing along. And I was like, I don't know if this one's that good. And then it was on the radio and I sing it here and the whole place singing along.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's awesome. So this is probably going to be a super tough question, but do you have a favorite, like of the songs that you've written, whether it's a hit or not? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, that is a great question. I think just off the top of my head, I would think Smile, because it's the most well-known.
Yeah.
And, it was a big hit in Australia, and everyone seems to know that one. I do have another song that people might not know as well that I put out under my band name called JTX around the time before Smile, called Love in America. And I love that song. And I think you really have to dig for it. I need to put it up on Spotify and stuff because I actually own the song. I've just never really put it up, but you can find it. But I love that song. It's called Love in America.
I love it.
Yeah. And
Cool.
Thanks. But enough about me. Can we talk about my book?
Dude, great transition. You see it here? That's where I was going. Yes. So, mutual friend. Actually, I met Dana
Hardcover. That's a real deal.
Through you, but Dana Perino.
Yes.
You
star of television.
You introduced me to her. Gosh, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. Because they were coming in for a convention or something like that. And we became friends. You had a similar. You became friends with her. Very good. And then she flies in to do the book release right here at the listening room.
So I'd never met Dana Perino before, and if you don't know her, I didn't know who she was either. She's on a big news. She has gigantic television shows. Yep. She was in the audience at the listening room, saw me perform, and she just posted about it on Instagram, saying, "Oh, this guy should write a book." And I saw this guy, JT Harding, and everyone was texting me. It was like the Keith Urban story all over again.
Yeah.
And she said, "Listen, you should put a book out." And we met, and she said, "Write your stories down, all of your song stories, just like I've been telling you." And then when I talked about, I was adopted and some family stuff that went on, and working for Linkin Park, I also worked for this really crazy rock star who we're not going to name because he might show up. If you say his name 3 times, he appears in a puff of smoke. And my book, Party Like a Rock Star, came out in February. I had the book release party here, and it went #1 on Amazon, and you can find it anywhere. And if you like these songwriting stories and you want to hear them in Technicolor 3D, get the book. I promise you'll enjoy it.
It is
I don't
so
know if
good.
I did the audiobook as well. So
I listened to it.
Oh, good.
I read
he
the
took
book.
a long romantic walk to the fridge with his headphones on.
Exactly.
Listening to
it. No, I've been doing so much driving back
It's called
and forth.
Party Like a Rock Star, if we forgot to tell you.
Yeah, Party Like a Rock Star, JT Harding. Reaching over for everybody watching on YouTube.
Woo!
Here it is, right here.
That's me on the cover, breaking a guitar in the 8th grade battle of the bands.
love
Every
it.
filling in my mouth rattled when I tried to break that guitar. It was impossible to break it.
It is such a good book. I would read a little bit and was like, I couldn't put it down. So like I would read part of it, and then when I was driving back and forth to Pigeon Forge, I would listen as I was driving.
Oh,
and
great.
like to have the audio, like you guys, like listening to a book on audio is great. It's a great way to be able to grab content while you're on the go. But listening to a book in audio by the guy who wrote the book is another level. And you did such a good job. And it was like, I think knowing you as well as I do, it was just like, it was like, oh man, this is like,
Thank you.
This
That's
is awesome.
So great. Yeah. I mean, I wanted Morgan Freeman to do it, but he was too expensive, but I did it, and I imitate voices. And, everywhere I would go, people would say, hey, have you heard the Matthew McConaughey book? And I was like, no, I got to listen to it. Then I was like, oh, we've got to do an audiobook. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
awesome.
wrote that during COVID, right?
Yeah, totally. It was interesting. We didn't know the world was going to shut down. And what was great about writing the book, if I was excited, write the book. If I was bored, write the book. If I was, scared what was happening in the world, put that energy in the book. Waiting for a girl to call me back, I would just put that energy in the book. I don't wait for girls to call me back anymore because I'm a hit author. Thank you.
That's right.
But yeah, and if anyone out there, I think everyone has a story. So if you're ever thinking about writing a book, go for it. It's really an exciting thing to do.
I think, it comes like, it goes back to songwriting, and obviously, like you've done a great job songwriting and putting lyrics together and all that. But I told you this a while back. Like, the thing I love about this is that you can paint so many vivid pictures in 3.5 minutes in a song, and you write the same way, but you've got, all the pages in the world that you want to paint that picture, but you don't stop. It's like everything, like from sitting down and eating cereal, and you're talking about like I mean, it was like I was trying, like,
Rice Krispies we're popping like rain falling.
Exactly.
Better than that,
like it's just like it I felt like I was
Thank you.
transported back into, like, we grew up around the same time, listening to the same kind of music, and like just like the things that you
Wheel
did
of
in
Fortune
Michigan
was on
exactly.
yeah, totally.
Right. It was just like I was back in my childhood in little small town in Missouri, and was like, man, this is like, I loved it.
Well, I read a lot, and my favorite magazine articles, my favorite books are very visual. So I just tried to do that in the book. It's like when I was writing the book, I was thinking it's like someone's looking at your Instagram, but they can't see it. So you can't just say, I walked into the listening room and played a song. You have to say, the sour smell of stale beer greeted me as I walked into the listening room. A Sam Hunt song played in the background as if someone was whispering. I mean, it's better than that, but you have to do that.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job. Everybody listening needs to go follow JT for his music, but go buy this book. You can buy it anywhere that you get books, or like he said, you can get it on audio.
Totally. Or you can order it online. It'll be,
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it. It'll be at your door, but by the time this podcast is done.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
Chris, thanks so much for having me, and thanks for everything you do for songwriters.
Man.
You have so many people play here that are just beginning, that are just on the come up, as people say, and it can really, change lives.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. I want to close with, I ask everybody the same question at the end.
Yeah.
And you've already done a really good job of giving a lot of advice as we've been sitting here talking. But if you are going back to 8-year-old JT in Detroit, Michigan, knowing what you know now, spending time with Keith Urban in a bathroom, what advice would you give yourself that you could have done differently, or anything that you would have changed?
I would have told myself all of the twists and turns and the false starts and the things that don't work out. It's all part of it. It's all just leading you to become a better songwriter, leading you to where you need to be. I mean, I wasn't ready at 14 years old I didn't have enough life experience to write great songs. And if I had become a star at 20, hey, maybe I would have, had a great time. But I just don't think I was ready, and I would get real disappointed. And here's another thing, like, you cannot get bitter. You have to be excited for other people's success. Don't let, a record company person or a radio station or another songwriter or someone like get you down if it doesn't work out. You just got to keep going. So that's what I would tell myself. And I don't know about all music, but for anyone listening that's trying to write, country music or trying to be a country star, I tell everyone, I really believe, even though you can get big on the internet and all that, you have to move to Nashville. I don't know anyone that's big in songwriting or country music that doesn't live here. This is where the records are being made. This is where the best songwriters are. And this is where you can play your own songs at the listening room. So I would say you have to get here. A lot of people say, well, I can't do that. My girlfriend doesn't want me to, or I can't leave my job. And then I'm like, dude, I don't know what else to tell you, because this is where people are coming to make it happen.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
JT, thanks so much.
Thanks so much, man. I had a blast.
Yeah.
Party like a rock star everywhere. Woo!
This is Chris Blair with another episode of Stories Behind the Songs with JT Harding. We'll see you next time. This has been an episode of Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information after the show, head over to chrisblair.com. That's where you can find information on these episodes, trailer notes, video links, all kinds of great stuff. Also, make sure to leave us a great rating on iTunes. Like and follow us on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. I really hope that you think this show is awesome, and we really appreciate the love and support. I promise to keep gathering great content and continuing to sit down with more amazing songwriters and artists as we grow. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for the support. We'll see you next time.